Really, I'm going to zoom through a tiny bit here. A very different psalm. And the thing that I want us to keep our eyes on throughout here, um, there's a key word that runs through, um, and the word is al or Allah, and it's the word that means above or upon or elevate or go up. Um, and it is this I like this song because it's a real demonstration of like how what you can do with one word that sort of like winds its way through the entire thing in lots of different forms, which is something that you can do in Hebrew better than you can in English. Okay, all you peoples, clap your hands, raise for God a joyous shout. Um, okay, so I've got like again, who are the addressees? All you peoples, all the peoples. Presumably, this is again calling on God's sort of universal power. Like why? For the Lord Most High, ding, that's your first use of al. Elyon, right? Most High, which I think we've talked about actually before. For Yahweh, the Most High, Elyon, is awesome, which really means greatly fearable. Great King over all the earth. So really, we're going for the sort of universal deity here. Moving on. He subjects peoples to us, nations beneath our feet. Um, we the other things going on here in this poem, aside from the above all talk going through, is there's like a constant up and down. So I had God up above, right? God is above everything, and now nations are beneath even our feet, not beneath his feet, but beneath our feet, right? So we went from up to down. Uh, and it's also it's nations, right? Like the Amim who were called upon in the first line to acknowledge God's kingship are now the ones who seem to be subject even to Israel. Okay, he suggests peoples to us, nations are beneath our feet. He chose for us our heritage. So us, lots of us. Who's us? The pride of Jacob, whom he loved. So we've got like a definition here, right? Like it's we are in fact the ones who are selected, and this may be calling on a little bit alluding to this notion of like there's lots of peoples and lots of peoples with lots of their gods, but what's the uniqueness of Israel, and this is reflected back in Genesis with Abraham, the uniqueness of Israel is that unlike all of the other peoples and their deities who just go back forever, right? Israel's God chose Israel, right? Selected Israel out of the other peoples. This is the chosen people trope, but it's really coming out here, right? Like he chose us for our heritage. He chose for us our heritage. I have a deep suspicion that this probably as his heritage, and it's a not a mistake, but it's a correction of sorts. He chose us, right? We are the ones whom he loves and prefers. That's the sense here. Again, there's a contrast of all the other peoples and Israel. Here we are in the center of the psalm. God ascends, Allah goes up amid acclamation, teruah. That's like a noise sound, a noise word, just like we had in the beginning of the psalm, right? Like everyone raise a shout. Um, the Lord ascends to the sound of the horn, right? Here it's teruah and shofar and hariu. These are all like sound noise instrument words. So here we are like literally in the very center of the psalm. It's not a chiasm, but like there's a central statement here, I think. We want the acknowledgement of God's power. We want to acknowledge that people are subordinate to us, that we are awesome. But the moment of the psalm is God ascends, right? Goes up. And I think what we're talking about here is enthronement, right? That you imagine in the temple, right? This is like the notion of the deity entering. There's a real sense of performance here. I can imagine, I'm totally imagining, but I can imagine the congregation who is whoever is performing this sort of turning either to the entrance of the temple or perhaps to the center to like acknowledge the arrival of the deity. Um, and of course, like we were up and we were down, and now we're back up again. So there's that pattern going on. Here, the God has now God has now arrived and has been is beginning the enthronement process. And here, what should you do? You sing to God. Um, uh, here's this verse a very different tone, right? Like command, sing to God, sing to our God, who sing to our King. Who is being told to sing? Is it the peoples from line one? Is it the community of worshipers who are standing there now watching? That's my suspicion is the latter, but it's not clear. A real progression here. This is not unlike the beginning of Psalm 29. Sing, oh sing, sing, oh sing, sing. And then a sort of an outstanding line for king over all the earth is God. Again, this enthronement kingship language. Um, this is such a repetitive verse, right? If you look at all the words that are repeated, sing, God, right? Uh, I guess those are the main ones. But like, if this is a case where like, if you were to like take the repeated words as like almost canceling each other out, um, what's being said here? Sing to God, our King, over all the earth, or sing to our God, or God, who is our King and over all the earth. Right? That's like everything else is repetition. That's the core sentence here, which again, right? Like thinking about the way the psalm has been shaped from the beginning, right? Like there's other peoples who are supposed to acknowledge God's kingship. There's us. We are God's chosen people. So here, sing, our God is king over all the earth. And in the last couple of lines, we get what I think is the completion of the enthronement process. God now reigns, right? Sits enthroned over all the nations. God sits on his holy throne. Again, every time it says over here or on, this is the word al, above, on top of. That's elyon. That's Allah goes up. This is like the key word of the psalm. It's in virtually every single line, right? God reigns over the nations again, right? Like talking about our God, who is sitting here on his throne, is in charge. The last line is a funny one. We're talking about the nations again. The great of the peoples, the amim, the nations, are gathered together. The people of the God of Abraham. For to God belongs the earth. And I'll just say that the last line, he is greatly exalted, is what ties it all together. That's again our Allah, our al word, right? In the passive. But he is exalted, he is arisen, he is on high very much. It's like it's almost like that's the title of the psalm. My question here, and I really don't know the answer, and I sort of go back and forth about how to understand it, is at the beginning of this verse, who are these? What's understood here, right? Like the great of the peoples, so the leaders perhaps of the peoples are gathered together. And what's the connection of that with the people of the God of Jacob? There's a couple of possibilities. One is, this is a little bit off kilter, one is that the there for people of the God of Abraham should actually be the word im, which means with. The great of the peoples are gathered together with the God of Abraham, right? In other words, they've kind of converted. It's possible that what's being imagined here is like heavenly beings, maybe, right? Like that's what the great things or the leaders of the people being imagined. But in fact, it may just be that the great of the peoples are gathered together as the people of the God of Abraham. In other words, it is like a notion of like, once they recognize God's kingship, which is what the psalm is calling for, they will become the people of the God of Abraham also. Anyway, there's lots of possibilities for what to do here. Honestly, it's a funny psalm because, like, in a sense, like conceptually, I think it's kind of bland. It's like, yes, God is the great king, and you all should worship him too. Is kind of the sense of the thing. And the language is relatively standard, but there's this really wonderful, as I sort of said, this thread of this use of al to go up. And this notion like they're called upon to sing, and the singing leads to the ascent and the enthronement, and there's more singing. There's lots of talk of peoples and earth, and in the very middle of the psalm, God ascends and everyone sings. God is king, everyone sings, God reigns over the earth, right? It has a shape to it, even if it's not as clear a shape as Psalm 29.